Does it seem like the two of you keep having the same argument over and over again? Do you feel like you're spinning your wheels when it comes to money? You're not alone. Many times, one of the hangups we have are the habits that we've developed. Today, we're going to learn how we form them and how we can change them for the better. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Couple Money Podcast, the show where we share stories and advice on building up your marriage and wealth together. I'm Elle Martinez. Support for this podcast comes from Jumpstart Your Marriage and Your Money Masterclass. This course is designed to help you two get on the same page with money, dump your debt faster, and get you on the path to financial freedom. Sign up for the class today and get lifetime access. Just head over to couplemoney.com/jumpstart. It's funny how unaware we can be about our money habits. I remember when we first just talked about finances and we shared our numbers, it was an eye-opener in many ways, not just with the amount of debt I had and what he was doing with his money, but the fact was we weren't seeing eye to eye on how we approached our finances. And even though I'd like to think we've done a lot better, paid off a lot of those debts and working on paying off our mortgage, there are still differences with how we approach finances. And we don't want to change who we are, but we do want to get better with how we communicate about it. And a lot of it is figuring out where did we pick up these mindsets, these habits, and then just adjusting them to make sure that we're successful as a team. But digging into how we pick up those habits and figuring a way to work with what we have, so to speak, is somewhat tricky, which is why I'm really happy Jen Hemphill is here. She's an accredited financial counselor and the author of a new book, Her Money Matters: The Missing Truths from Traditional Money Advice. It's a fantastic book, and one aspect that I really appreciated is how Jen dives into the mindsets and money stories. Sometimes we're not conscious of how they influence the decisions we make with paying down debt, how we save, and how fast or how we approach building wealth. In this episode, we discuss how your past can influence how you handle your finances now, for better or worse. We also get into how to help your spouse to open up and understand their perspective, their money mindset. And finally, she gives an approach on how you can get them aboard. What's fascinating to me is that Jen got into personal finance and became an accredited financial counselor based on her personal experience. In fact, it was that journey that motivated her to write this book.
Well, here's the thing. I wanted to write a book that was focused on what really is missing because I had that experience. When it comes to traditional and money advice, we tend to focus mainly on budgeting and saving more, those traditional money skills. But what I've come to find out is that is just a small component of what I call the money headquarters. That's really, in my opinion and in my experience, about 10%. It's only the smallest part, but yet we focus the most of our time on that, on the budgeting, on the savings, on paying off debt, which is nothing bad to do. Are great things to do. But there's other components of the money headquarters, which are the mindset piece. Or which includes money stories, past money stories, present money stories, future money stories. And there's also the money actions piece, which includes talking money, which is includes those type of things. So those are the other components of your money headquarters, if you will, because how I see it is your mindset, which is the biggest component, your money stories, that's like the foundation of your home. So if you have a very not stable foundation, your house is in trouble, right? So you have to have a strong foundation. And that's why the mindset, the money stories, those things are very critical. And then you build on the home with your money actions, the talking money, creating a dream budget, those type of things. And then the money skills are like the bricks, though you finish that off. So that's why I wanted to write this book, because I felt stuck. I was the one that I was really good, or I felt like I was really good at the money skills, Elle. And I found myself 10 years into our marriage where I was stuck. And I felt ashamed because people saw me as good with money, but yet inside I was feeling horrible. So that started that journey.
Part of her journey was reflecting on certain roadblocks and walls that just kept hitting when it came with money, and then looking at patterns she had with finances, both with her view of them and with her approach.
10 years later, we were still in debt. And 10 years later, I was looking at our emergency funds. When we're still continuing to deplete it, we were putting away for retirement, but not that much because we were trying to pay off debt. And it felt like we were just running in this kind of like the hamsters that run in the wheel and they don't get anywhere. That's how I felt like. And so I knew there was something else. And then plus I was overwhelmed trying to manage our finances. I was like, something's not right. Why is this going on? And that's when it just led to that journey of just me opening up my mind. Okay, how can I fix this? And that led me to some other books that weren't just budgeting and the personal finance, but it led me to the first one that I read was T. Harv Eker. That's who opened up my mind to the mindset and how important that really is. Because what happened was I grew up in a household where there was a lack of money. So we don't have the money. That was the key phrase that I heard growing up. And even though when I became an adult, I knew that I was determined to be in a better financial situation. What I didn't realize that those thoughts still stuck in my mind. And those thoughts continue to repeat themselves. And that's why I was always saving, right? But then somehow we were depleting it. Then I was very, very frugal, right? And there's nothing wrong with frugal because you save money. But then I wasn't enjoying life as much because I felt guilty each time if I wanted to treat myself to something. There was a lot of guilt surrounded with it.
Okay, let's take a step back for a sec and think about your mindset and habits. Growing up, what did you see and hear about money? Probably got a couple of different perspectives. I know I did. But there were certain things I would call kind of an undercurrent to the conversations. One of them being debt was inevitable. You'll always have a car payment. You'll always have a mortgage. That's something that you should expect as a part of life. And even though that wasn't officially said out loud, well, a few times the mortgage part was said out loud, it did start affecting me. I noticed looking back that it led me to make decisions based on whether I could afford the payments rather than taking the time to figure out if I can afford it, period. And that clashed with my husband's more, I would say, cash-based way of doing finances. The other side of the coin is his hesitation with investing that I saw as a priority. So you can see that these things can have an effect on the conversations we have now. So digging into how and why we do what we do can be a really smart move and make things go easier and much smoother when we talk about money because we know where each other's coming from. And we can use that to change. Jen took what she saw and began making that shift.
I call the past money story was what I grew up around money, like what I saw, what I experienced, what I heard. And it's important to acknowledge it or understand it or be aware of it, because then what happens is we repeat that. And that's what I did, right? So we repeat those cycles, which creates your present money story. Right.
Yeah.
And then if we aren't aware that we continue to do that, we get nowhere or we don't progress.
Yeah.
So once I realized that's when I started shifting what I thought around money. And and then I created what I wanted it to how I wanted to feel. So my future money story, how I wanted to feel, what I wanted our financial life to look like. That's really the key one.
Of course, this is a partnership. So while you may be excited about what you've uncovered and you're ready to make those changes, your spouse, maybe not so much. Jen has a wonderful tip on how to deal with that.
So first is to acknowledge that the money talk, that money conversation is not always about the numbers, right? Yeah. So we talked about our money story. So it could be as easily as getting to know each other at that level, right? And you may already have hints, right? From being married or in a relationship with this person. So it's getting to know each other on that level, getting to know maybe money challenges from, maybe one has a challenge with impulse spending and the other one doesn't really. And maybe that the other partner can help the one that has the challenges with impulse spending. So knowing the challenges or having those conversations, maybe some tips, some things that they have learned that have worked really well, they can share that, right? Yeah. And sharing like money wins are also important. So those conversations can be had. I think they're very important. It doesn't have to be like, it's definitely not about, oh, you spent so much this month.
Yeah, don't
ever do that. That will definitely
shut it down.
That will shut it down. But it's more about getting to know each other. And it's all positive. Again, even though challenges doesn't sound positive, but it's coming out and asking for help because we as humans, we want to be helpful. So if you're expressing this as a challenge, then your partner in turn is going to be more than willing to help you through that challenge. If you're expressing that something that worked and you thought was amazing, then that person's, if you're excited about it, that person's going to be more receptive.
Special thanks to Jen for being a part of the show. Guys, if you are serious about communicating better with your spouse and getting your money right, please pick up Jen's book, Her Money Matters. As always, I'll have all the info and details in the show notes, including all the links and resources to get you started. Just head over to couplemoney.com/mindset. And speaking of communication, so you know what you should do, but how do you start having those first conversations? How do you open the door to talking about money? Well, this week I chatted with Chris over at Popcorn Finance, all about icebreakers to get the ball rolling with finances. So come check that out. That'll also be in the show notes. And if you want to stay on top of the podcast, videos, did you know we have a weekly show on YouTube? Articles, please make sure you're subscribed to Couple Money. I send out weekly updates on everything we release, as well as some behind the scene and exclusive stuff. Plus, it's free. Our theme song was written and performed by Gentle Regime. Additional music by Lee Rosevear and Music for Makers. And if you want to add another podcast to your playlist that will help you tackle marriage and money together, please add Marriage, Kids, and Money. Andy and his wife have done an incredible job. They're living the debt-free life. They just paid off their mortgage. So congrats to them. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it. It means so much to me and it helps get the conversation started with other couples on how they can work together to dump their debt and build a future as a team. I hope you have a great week. Take care.